And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at Imhotep. This is a game that is probably all over the place right now since it was just nominated for the most prestigious gaming awards of the year, the Spiel de Jahres. This game got my attention when I first got it because it had Phil Walker Harding's name on it, and he has done some really simple, fun games. I really like his archaeology, the card game, a lot of fun, which also, incidentally, has an Egyptian theme to it. This one is about building the land of Egypt. It has beautiful components. It is a Cosmos game, so you know the production's high. And it was nominated for the Spiel de Jahres, and while I don't like every game that's nominated for the Spiel de Jahres, that family-style game really hits a sweet spot with me. So this one has everything going for it. Let's see. At the beginning of the game, each player is given a stone or a color of their stone. So you're going to either be black, gray, white, or brown. Each player gets a supply slot that can hold 5 stones, and they're going to get a certain number based on turn order. So if brown went first, brown would get 2, then the next person would get 3, 4, and then 5. There's going to be a set of cards here. These cards are going to be determined by the number of players. So there's a set for 4, 3, 2. And what you're going to do is these cards are going to determine how long the game is. So there's 6 cards for 6 rounds of the game. And at the beginning of each round, you'll turn that card over, and it's going to show you what ships you're going to use that round. So this one says bring a ship of 4, 2 ships of 3, and a ship of 2 out like this. Then the starting player goes first, and you just take turns clockwise around a table. Now on your turn, you have 4 different actions that you can take. One action is to take 3 more blocks and add them to your sled. Now you can't do that if you don't have room for 3 blocks, then you'll just take the number. So let's say I have 3 and I decide to take that action, I would only take 2 because 5 is the most blocks that you can have. A second action is to take a block from your sled and place it on one of the ships. You can place it in any of the spots on the ship. It doesn't have to be the front. A third action is to take a ship and sail that ship to one of these locations out here on the table. Now you cannot sail a ship until it has at least as many cubes on it as shown. So this one here shows 2 cubes. It has to have at least 2. But if there's 2 cubes on it, I can sail it to one of the locations. As soon as this one here, for example, has 3 cubes on it, I can sail it to one of the locations. When you get to the different locations, something different is going to happen based on that location. So let's take a look at each of them. The top location, the marketplace. When you go here, starting with the person in the front, each person is going to be able to choose a card. Some of the cards are going to score points at the end of the game. Statues will give you points depending on how many statues you have at the end of the game. Decorations are going to give you points. This one gives you 1 point for every 3 blocks in the obelisk area at the end of the game. Some cards you will immediately do right away. This one lets you put a stone from the quarry in the burial chamber. So you immediately put a stone out. And then some you keep to later, and this is a 4th action a player can take on a turn, is to play a blue card. So for example here, you can place 1 stone on a ship and sail that ship to a site. So it's kind of like a double action. If you sail to the pyramids area, the blocks that are on the ship are going to be placed in order from front to back in these columns like this. And the points, players will immediately score points shown on those blocks. So you can see here the gray player gets 3 points, but the brown player also gets 3 points for placing them here. Once the bottom of the pyramid is completely finished, you will start in the second level of the pyramid, scoring 2, 1, 3, and 3, and then the third level 4, and any blocks that are put there after that are simply going to score 1 point, and you just place them over here to the side. At the temple, you do not score points when you place blocks there, but the blocks are placed from left to right, and then you're going to start putting them on top. And at the end of every round, and there are 6 rounds in the game, you will look downwards, and whichever colors you can see are going to score a point. So after the end of round, let's say this is round 3, white player gets 2 points, gray player gets 2 points, and the black player gets 1 point. The burial chamber does not score until the end of the game. As blocks are placed in the burial chamber, they're placed just like they are everywhere else, where you start from the front of the boat, and then you put the blocks in, and at the end of the game, you're going to get points for each group. So for example here, white has a group of 3, which is 6 points, and 2 groups of 1, which are 1 point each. Gray has 2 groups of 1, black has 2 groups of 1, which are 1 point each. But you can see that if you manage to get a large group together, for example, gray has a group here of 5, that's 15 points. The obelisks also will score at the end of the game, and this is pretty simple. As the blocks come in here, it doesn't really matter the order. You're going to be just adding them to your stack, and at the end of the game, you're going to get points based on who has the highest stack. And in a 4-player game, it's 15, 10, 5, and 1. Now, each of these sections here has an alternate side, and that alternate side can be used, and you can mix and match if you want to. For example, on the alternate side of the market, one of the spots has 2 cards that are face down. You can draw those, and then you have to keep one of those and decide which to use. On the alternate side of the pyramid, there are 3 smaller pyramids that are built, and in some of these places you'll get, maybe here you get only 1 point, but you also will add 3 blocks to your sled. On the alternate side of the temple, it's very similar to the regular temple, but you will get some bonuses. Maybe here I get a point and 2 blocks, and here I get a card. And the alternate side of the burial chamber, instead of getting points for having connected, you're going to check each row, and whoever has the most in each row at the end of the game is going to get bonus points. And on the alternate side of the obelisks, you put your stones here, and as soon as you get 3 stones of one color there, you'll place it here, and you will score that many points. So 10 points, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, all the way down. Again, you can mix or match these as you want. The game is over after the 6th round. Each round ends after all 4 boats have docked. After all 4 boats have docked, by the way, you can move a boat even if it doesn't have your blocks on it. Then the scoring and the temple scoring happens, and then you go to the next round. At the end of the game, at the end of 6 rounds, you will add the points for the burial chamber and the obelisks to your score. Also, any bonus points that you've gotten from statues or different decorations. For example, this one gives 1 point for every 3 stones in the pyramid. Any blue cards you haven't used will get you 1 point, and whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. Hooray! It all worked out, and I'm glad. I'm always glad when I go into a game with high expectations and they are met. This game is perfect for the Spiel des Jahres. It is the perfect mix of you have one action on your turn, but your actions are very interesting. It has that perfect amount of interaction where you're watching where other people place their blocks. And I see you put your block in a second spot on that ship because you want the 3 points on the pyramids. Yeah, but that ship is going to get cards. Yeah. So there's a little bit of that, see what you've done. Component quality is very good. I mean, cubes are cubes in games, right? But these are cubes. They're nice, big, and chunky, and they bring a good look to the board. The obelisks, as they grow, you're like, yeah, look at that. That looks really nice. And the pyramid looks like a pyramid. And that just has a good feel to it as you move them around and grab them and put them out. Again, though, the game, the artwork is fine. It's, your pyramid artwork. But the game does what Phil is so good at, and that's just taking some simple choices and making them interesting. Hey, your choice is add some blocks to your sled. Well, I'm running out of blocks. I need some more blocks. But if I take blocks now, someone else might put a stone on that ship where I wanted to put it. But if I put out a stone now, then maybe next round my first action is going to have to be taking blocks. So that's a simple thing. Where do I want to move the ship to? Well, the cards are great because cards are useful, but here I can get some points now from the pyramids, or here I can get that temple at the end of each round. That doesn't seem like a lot, but if you're getting 3 points every round from the temple, that can add up to a lot. At the same time, I got to be careful where if you move your ship down to the burial chamber and you get a big combination there, or I let you get too many statue cards. Players are always watching each other saying, wow, they look like they're about to score a lot of points. I need to stop them. But should I stop them at the expense of doing something better for myself? And it's a good back and forth. And because of that, the game plays really well with 2, 3, but I love it with 4. I think 4 is the best. I was able to play this with my kids who, the ones I played it with were ages 12, 13, and 16, and they loved it. It was simple, it was easy, but it offered a depth of interaction and fun. And I also liked the mix of the A and B sides. Now, some of them, like the cards, I don't mind if it's on A or B side, doesn't matter to me. Some I like one side better or not. The obelisks, I like the B side where there's 3 and you get points, but I love the other side because there's something about building a giant obelisk and having the most, which is fun to me. The burial chamber, having the most in each row is interesting, but I think I like the other side better as you try to get them next to each other. The pyramids, I like the big pyramid because it looks neat, but the little pyramids give some cool bonuses, and the same with the temple. I like the bonuses better than just straight points. But the fact is that I'm not unhappy with any of the sides, and a good mix of those works really well, as you can, and it gives variety to the game. Now, this game does not have super deep strategy, but I did not expect it to. It's light and simple. I could probably teach it in less than 5 minutes. It's easy to play. The steps are simple. Turn a card over, put the ships out, then take one action, boom, boom, boom. The person who starts each round is after the person who ended the following round, so it feels fair as time goes by. You're constantly trying to knock other players while help yourself, and it ends in a very reasonable amount of time. I would say once you know what you're doing, 30 minutes is good. The box says 40, but I think 30 minutes is a pretty decent length for this game. I don't know if it will win the Spiel de Jahres. It's going up against some pretty hefty competition like Codenames, but it is a solid game, and in any other year, I would say this was a lock for the win. It's a great game. Certainly check it out. That is Imhotep. Dice Tower Judgment, excellent!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door, yo!